Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Lindsay, and this is Tony L Talks. Thank you for joining me tonight. Tonight, I'm doing a special podcast to discuss New York City politics and the scam of affordable housing. Now, those of you who have been following me, you know that I've been fighting the good fight here in New York City, and it almost seems like it's David versus Goliath, as you see here, because we've been fighting against a huge corporate machine in the hotel industry and their lobbyists, and also a whole bunch of these organizations and so-called civil rights leaders. We have elected officials, all who have been wrapping the conversation of quote unquote housing justice around uh, my bill, a bill that I authored, Intro 948A, which is a bill that is supposed to offer relief to small, vulnerable homeowners who were disenfranchised under a law that was passed back in 2022, which is called Local Law 18. But unfortunately, there's been this multi-million-dollar propaganda campaign that has been spread to convince the public, to lie to the public, to convince them that this bill has been somehow crafted on behalf of Airbnb in order to have some detrimental impact on union workers, the housing supply, the long-term rental housing supply, and that it somehow has something to do with rent prices. And I'm going to debunk all of that in this conversation right here. So join me and thank you. Welcome to Tony L Talks. All right. So, yep, we're here to get into this conversation. We're going to get real deep into it. And I want to bring in, you guys know him. He's been on the podcast before. That's my man, Craig Visions. What's up, Craig? How you doing, brother? How is everything?
I'm muted. Yep. I'm here, bro. I'm here for you, man. Whatever you need. Let's talk about it. Because we finally are talking online and not just on the phone for hours, missing great content.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, because Craig and I, we have a lot of very deep conversations, and most of the things that we talk about, they would probably make outstanding social media content. And I said, you know what? Instead of always trying to like record these conversations that we have, why don't we just get on a podcast and just talk about it openly so the rest of the people out there can benefit from this? And there's a lot of truth that has been hidden in the public conversation. So I figured we would just talk about it now. Now, you already know what we're talking about today. You know, I've been out there fighting a good fight when it comes to the bill that everyone is calling now the quote unquote Airbnb bill, Intro 948A, which is a bill that was actually, it has existed before any prior legislation that was advocated for by the Airbnb Corporation. And the interesting thing is, when Local Law 18 was passed, it had a very specific and precise, laser-targeted impact on Black and Hispanic homeowners in this city who were in areas that were being heavily gentrified. And the ironic part about it is that the people who drafted the legislation and advocated for it, namely Tom Kaler and a guy named Murray Cox, who are from this coalition against illegal hotels, and now today an organization called Tenants Not Tourists, they presented the intention of the bill to be not only to protect the housing stock, but also to protect Black and brown people from gentrification in their neighborhoods. And so what I want to do is I want to, one, show how their advocacy was racist, number one. And secondly, I want to show people so that they can understand what they're dealing with here, which is not only a propaganda campaign from the hotel unions, but it's also a propaganda campaign that not only uses Black and brown people to carry out their messaging, but it simultaneously criminalizes them in their ads with racist ads that paint Black male Airbnb guests as criminals. It's astounding, bro. And then to see so-called civil rights activists like Kirsten Foy out there being one of the leading voices against this bill. Kirsten Foy, who I know personally, out there advocating against Intro 948A, never once reaching out to discuss it with me, because all of the things that he has said have been already debunked talking points. And secondly, if you listen to him or even read some of the weird hit pieces that he has put out, framing them as MAGA legislation, it's quite clear that he hasn't read the bill, or nor does he understand it. So I'm gonna be pulling up like certain videos, certain things, but do you have anything that you wanted to add before I go into it?
You on mic tone?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. You can't.
Yeah. So first, I just want to say it was
you good?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. I was reading some things here. Well, first I wanted to say that I was really like, it's weird, it's kind of corny to say, but I was proud of you. Like when I was looking online and I saw you like sitting at the table, city council, it looked like surreal, because usually when I see those people at that table, I never know them. But to like see you there, I'm like, yo, I know that guy. And I think it was dope. I'm glad you took it this far. I'm glad you are fighting this good fight. And it seems like you're up against a huge mountain of like corporate money. And as far as Kirsten Foy, you know, me and you had conversations about him, and I dropped his name in a group chat. And it turns out that, you know, I am the naive person to thinking that this guy is who he say he is. And it's looking like more than likely he is being paid off. So I think it's right for you to call this person out. And like you said, the time for like coddling these so-called activists and allowing them to lead the conversation and under the pretense that they're doing the right thing for black and brown people, I think that time is over. Like we have to stop coddling them and stop shielding them. And I think that time is now. I think, you know, gloves need to come off, because I mean, what else do we have to lose here? I mean, people are losing their homes here, and yeah, it's time to fight the good fight. David versus Goliath. I'm all in with you.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot of like very real harm to people with the things that they're saying. It'd be one thing if it was just like a simple disagreement based in the actual legislative language, but it's another thing when you just share these canned talking points that are fed to you by the hotel lobby that is funding you. And so, you know, one thing about me in this whole entire fight and my organization, New York Homeowners Alliance, we're not funded by anybody other than ourselves, the nickels and quarters and pennies that we put together in order to dispel a lot of the false talking points that have been spread in this fight, because Local Law 18 has done a huge amount of damage to people who are trying to supplement their income. Many of them during like the lockdowns, there were people who who dared to try to become landlords, like these small homeowners of 1 and 2 family buildings. They were like, you know what? I have no money after Local Law 18 was passed. Oh my God, I can't even do any like home sharing. So they took spaces that were usually reserved for their family members, and they dared to try to become landlords. And what happened? A lot of them have non-paying tenants sitting in their homes right now for years, and they're on the verge of foreclosure, or some of them have already been foreclosed upon. So, you know, to see someone like Kirsten Foy out here, one, not even trying to understand or have a real conversation to determine whether he should support the bill or not. He just goes straight into the propaganda and then tries to label the bill a MAGA tech bill. And this is one of the problems that I have with the gatekeeper class. And I'm talking to black people now. Y'all got to stop allowing yourselves to be triggered by these emotional phrases that are meant to distract you and get you to act against your own best interest. Because when I was testifying on the 20th, one thing that I noticed was that there was a disproportionate amount of quote unquote people of color who were sitting behind me as I was speaking up in their defense, doing a whole bunch of thumbs down. They're doing all of this stuff, boo, trolling. And you could clearly see that not a single one of them was even like really listening to what I said, or they even understood what the hell I was saying, because I was literally speaking up even for their own protection. And so that's one of the problems that we have, these people that are just making things up and playing to people's emotion in order to get them to move in the direction that they just want them to go in. And there were a lot of paid protesters out there too.
So Tone, so I saw the back and forth between you and Christian and on the Facebook in the comments.
Christian? Oh, you mean Kirsten?
Kirsten, yeah. I keep saying Christian. Kirsten.
No, that's fine, because there's a Christian Klausner who is the director of the mayor's office of special enforcement. So, but right. Yeah, Kirsten, yeah.
So I think, from my perspective, I think that there's two bills, right? There's Intro 948, and then there's the 1107, I think, right? So I think that 1107 was kind of out of the picture for a while. It kind of just died out. It was defunct. But then at the last minute, they kind of threw it back in there. And I think they threw it back in there to kind of muddy the waters, to kind of like crowd the space and offer more confusion.
Yeah, it makes it easy. Yeah, it makes it easy to trivialize the issue. Now, Intro 1107 is a bill that I actually had nothing to do with. The bill was basically a poor attempt to copy some of the tenets of the original legislative language of Intro 948. It was presented, without talking to us, and it was framed in a way that was honestly, in my opinion, unviable. And we knew this. And after the person who proposed the bill, Farrah Lewis, when she introduced the bill, the HTC immediately went after her. They went after the speaker of the city council, and it led to them gutting the bill and just leaving it as just basically trash. Let's just be honest. It did nothing. It did nothing to help small homeowners. Now, Airbnb put more than $1 million towards a campaign to push 1107, while NYHOA, who drafted the language that we are now talking about today, has always been there with Intro 948, which existed before 1107. So I hope you guys are following me. Now, once it became clear that Intro 1107 was not viable and it wasn't going to go anywhere and they couldn't get any support for it, all after Airbnb and the HTC are ignoring NYHOA, all of a sudden, okay, and how about Intro 948A? You get what I'm saying? So all of this time, you've been seeing these two huge corporations going to war with each other, dominating the narrative with their lobbyists, because let's be honest, they both have lobbyists on either side of this conversation. They're both giving their funding to these nonprofit organizations. But the one nonprofit organization that has been 100% grassroots from the very beginning, receiving no support, no funding, no conversation from anyone, has been NYHOA. But now that NYHOA and Intro 948 was sponsored, it is now at the forefront with City Council member Mercedes Narcisse, Kevin Riley, and others who are facing, their constituents are facing like a lot foreclosures and a lot of economic hardship because of this local law 18. Now that Intro 948A has a chance, now it's up there. Oh, what? Wait, what? Oh, that's the Airbnb bill. Look, Airbnb funded bill. Airbnb sponsored. Airbnb has absolutely nothing to do with Intro 948A.
So they purposely attached you, because that first bill. Now that's what I wanted to ask you. The first 11, well, the 1107.
Intro 1107, yeah.
Intro 1107. Now in the comments, I know that Kirsten brought up that there's two bills. Now, is there language in 1107 that somehow mentions or hurts union workers, that maybe that's what he's fighting against? Or what is his angle? Is he completely off track or is he just using like a fake attack to discredit your bill?
Well, the last thing I saw with Intro 1107 is it basically just addressed having locks inside of your home. So I mean, it's kind of defunct, and it never presented a threat to union workers anyway from the beginning. So it doesn't matter.
Where does he get that?
Well, because of the pressure of the hotel lobby. You see, the pressure of the hotel lobby is what led to the gutting of 1107. Even though it was an insufficient bill, it was the intimidation and the pressure from the HTC that led to gutting that bill. But see, when you're dealing with Intro 948A, Intro 948A actually contains all of the solutions, and it is what I would call impervious to the misinformation and the lies. It is everything that is in Intro 948A. It just completely debunks everything that's being said about it, which either says that the people who are advocating against it did not read it, or they simply have a disdain towards people who own and live in their own homes. Now, okay. Before we continue, we have Bonnie in the chat. I think Bonnie wants to come up and either ask a question or say something. So let me let Bonnie in here. How you doing, Bonnie? Oh, let me unmute. Bonnie, are you there? Okay, Bonnie's having some technical difficulties. So we'll get back to Bonnie in a second. By the way, if anyone wants to call in, or if you want to come on and you have any commentary, whether it's pro or against, supportive, questions, you're welcome to come here and come on up. And let me put it on the screen for you. You can join the conversation right there. There's the link to the StreamYard. You can just copy that, paste it into your URL, and you can join and you can come on up and ask questions. Okay, I see Bonnie's there again. I don't know. Let's try it. Hey, Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie.
Shit. We can hear you.
Bonnie?
I don't know if you can hear us, but we can hear her.
Okay. She said, it's okay, Bonnie. Let's start you over again, Bonnie. You got to go out and come back in. It's okay. We love Bonnie.
You know what I want to ask, Tone?
Yeah.
The raising of the rent trope, or the thing that he's saying that's going to create, like Intro 948 will cause rents to go through the roof. Explain that to me, like how, because I couldn't understand where they're getting that from and how it ties in, or even I can't even conceptualize how it could happen.
Well, it's just a false talking point. The argument why they even advocated for and passed local law 18 was because they were saying that it was to protect the long-term rental housing supply in New York City, and that it was having a detrimental impact on rent. So they were saying that short-term rentals, people who do home sharing to tourists, that was somehow driving up the cost of rent in New York City, and that we need to stop that evil Airbnb because it's driving the price of rent up in New York City. Now, we all know that that's a false talking point, but I can even give you one better. Since local law 18 was passed and enforced, the long-term rental housing supply in New York City has gone down. Rent prices have gone up. And guess what? Guess what happened with hotel profits? They have increased by double digits. So there's only one winner here in this local law 18 legislation, and that's the hotel industry, who coincidentally backed Eric Adams, campaigned for him, canvassed for Zohran Mamdani, funds people like Kirsten Foy and his Arc of Justice. So I think there's a pretty clear understanding here what interests are being preserved here with local law 18? By the way, I got TikTok over here. People over here on TikTok. I know you guys are listening into the podcast. One, I'd ask you guys to share this out. And two, if you want to join the conversation, if you want to ask a question, if you have any commentary, you can't do it here on the TikTok stream, but you guys can come over to the podcast. Just click the link. Well, not click the link, but can somebody share the Discord in the chat? If you follow me on the other platforms, you'll see the link to the Discord, not the Discord, to the StreamYard where you can join the conversation right here in the podcast. If anyone is here and you have the link, the URL to the Discord where people can go and get that, also get the StreamYard link, you can just put it here in the chat. Otherwise, just copy and paste it. All right? Yeah, so anyway, sorry, Craig. Oh, we got Bonnie back. Let's try it again. Hey, Bonnie.
Hey, Tony. Can
Hi.
you hear me?
Ooh. Oh boy, you gotta
just hear me?
Oh, it's distorted.
Yeah, your audio is very distorted on me.
Maybe you have bad signal. You think she has bad signal?
I've checked it, Tony. It's not my signal.
All right, try one more time. Hold on.
All I was going to say is over on TikTok, you can hear it good. You can't see Craig at all, but we can hear him good. And it's just like a still picture of you. So, and I don't see anybody. I mean, how do you know if anybody else is in here?
We on TikTok, I see the side of Tony's face. So StreamYard is not presenting on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Bonnie, hold on. Bonnie,
No.
wait 1 second. Bonnie, your audio is terrible. So drop out one more time and then come back in. Sorry, Bonnie's having some technical difficulties. Don't worry, it'll work. Drop out and come back in. Sorry, don't worry. She's trying. She's trying. She'll get it. She'll get it in a second. But yeah, I'm sorry. Where were we? So I want to give you guys an idea. I want you guys to see what exactly it is that the messaging that is being pushed by the hotel lobby, the hotel industry, that has so many people who are supporting their messaging. All right. Under the guise of short-term rentals somehow threatening Black and brown people and renters in this city, which is nonsense. It's just straight up nonsense. But I want to show you guys an ad that was funded by the hotel unions to scare people with their racist messaging, to say, you don't want these Black folks around here. Let me show you. So this here is an ad that was shared by Tenants Not Tourists, which is a hotel industry funded lobbyist group. And let's look at this ad. You see that Black Airbnb guest who's coming in with his suitcase? You see that, where he has his carry-on luggage? Airbnb says its safety checks may not reveal criminal activity. Do you want them next door? Bruh. Do you want them next door? Who exactly are we talking about?
It's terrible.
Do you want them next door? These are the people that Kirsten Foy is standing next to out there doing rallies, talking about stop intro 948A when he clearly hasn't read it. So, oh, okay, wait, we got somebody to sit here. All right, we're gonna pull on Jimmy. Jimmy either has a question or a comment. What's up, Jimmy? How you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, the whole thing is they don't want the hotels don't want their business to be clobbered because people trust Airbnb more than the actual hotels, because we know that we don't get privacy. To tell you the truth, the cleanliness is not up to par in these hotels like they used to be. Right. So, the hotel industry is being clobbered like Uber. The same way New York protects the taxi industry, now they're protecting the hotel industry, and they don't want no black people getting money out there.
You know what's interesting about what you just said? If you all think about this, New York City, they protect the taxi industry, right? If you live in New York City and you drive, you know that every other car on the road is a what? Uber.
Yep.
Now Airbnb and Uber are basically the same thing in that they allow you to use your own personal assets to supplement your income in order to survive in the most expensive city in the world. But if you notice, Uber is good. But when it comes to people who live in their own homes, I'm not even talking about like, wait, Jimmy. I'm not talking about like the commercial investors, the landlords. I'm not talking about them, because Intro 948 is very specific. It is very specific to people who reside in their own homes, private dwellings. 1 and 2 families are private dwellings under state law. And the tactics that have been used by the mayor's office of special enforcement not only violate state law, but they violate federal law. But go ahead, Jimmy. What were you going to say?
I was going to say the only reason why the taxes are left alone because Uber follows taxi regulations. I don't know if you know, they get a lot of money, because to get the car ready for TLC, it's about $5,000. And on top of that, the license is about another $400. Like you have to have a TLC license on top of your driver's license. So you got to pay for all that. By the time you're done, you're almost 6,000 in a hole. So it's an interest for New York City because they're collecting money on the fees, which is a tax. So everybody's playing by the rules on the taxi industry. But when it comes to Airbnb, they can't control it. So that's why.
Okay, I got you. Now, there's something interesting, and having you here, Jimmy. I want to ask you a question, because one of the things that Kirsten Foy, the civil rights leader, pointed out is that my bill, Intro 948A, is a MAGA tech bill. And I noticed that you're wearing a Make America Great Again hat, right? Right? I noticed that you're wearing that. Now, I am an independent. So let me ask you this. I'm not sure if you know, if you even read the bill, but what my bill does, because it's being framed as a MAGA bill. But what my bill does is it protects the most vulnerable homeowners in this city, who are the smallest homeowners who reside within their own homes. It protects their rights, and it ensures that they're not subjected to disproportionate or unfair enforcement. In other words, unequal protection under the law. Now, do you support the bill because you're MAGA? Or I'm just asking, like,
I support the bill because I support the Constitution and free markets. I mean, they're protecting, the illegals. So why allow for special enforcement to run up in your home and violate your due process rights? Like the Fourth Amendment, the right search and seizure. You know what I'm saying? These are all rights that we are protected by the Constitution. And last time I checked, the Constitution trumped all state law. So that don't even make sense, because the fact that they can tell you what to do with your home, your property, is bad enough. They're telling you got to pay taxes or they'll take it from you. But now they don't. They're telling you can't. Like if you put another room in your house, they want to know about it. Like you can't do anything with your house in New York City without their permission, and it's your home. It's insane.
All right, brother. I appreciate that. I appreciate your commentary, brother. I think this is the type of stuff that we need. We just need the honest truth. And I would love to have some liberals come up here if you want to, Democrats, Republicans, Independents. And I appreciate you, Jimmy. Anyone who has a concern about the bill based on all of the false information that's being spread, or anyone who supports it, or anyone who has questions, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important, is informing the public. Now, what I want to do is I want to play I'm trying to see which one I should play first. Should I play my testimony in front of the city council? Because I need people to see how much time I was given to speak after hours and hours of lies were being spread about this bill. And I'm talking about people were going up there, they were making shit up. Then the housing chair was asking them questions to elaborate. There was a lot of back and forth. The authors of Local Law 18, they were invited up twice. There was engagement. There was cross discussion. But when Tony Lindsay went up there as the author of the bill, oh, we're on limited time. I got 90 seconds and I had to try to steal a little bit away. So let me just give you guys, let me just allow you all to just hear a little bit of what it was that I had to say during that hearing. Let's see which one. Okay, yeah, this one is me. You can see that? Hold on, you can't see it. Can you see it?
That was still the ad. The ad was up.
Oh, there we go. You see it, right?
Yeah.
All right. So here you go, y'all. This is me at the city council hearing.
Is in the outer borough rely.
Oh, by that's the Chamber of Commerce. 2 reps from the Chamber of Commerce sitting next to me who support Intro 948A, by the way. And it's sad that they themselves acknowledge the disproportionate impact that Local Law 18 has on Black and brown communities. But let's just play it.
On foot traffic and visitors coming into these neighborhoods and driving that foot traffic. And you were doing all this without making a dent or progress on the housing crisis in New York City, which has worsened since Local Law 18.
Facts.
The only one benefiting from this law are the big hotels.
Wait, look behind him as he's speaking. Do you see the clapping seals behind him? The drones who are there doing the thumbs down, doing all of these motions to like this is some type of a game, when this is literally something that impacts them and their families, especially if they own homes.
Double digit profits since Local Law 18.
Look at that shit.
While our homeowners are struggling. Look, if HTC wants help, let's get rid of the special permits law and let's build more hotels in New York City and make them union hotels. That's the compromise here. But let's pass Local Law 948A. Let's make some reasonable accommodations so that our residents here in New York City can keep their homes, do the right thing.
Before we proceed, I want to say something just real quick. During that entire hearing that lasted all day, I think everybody was out there for like 7 hours or something like that in total. There was not one discussion about any of the tenets of Intro 1107. Yet in every oppositional speech that was given against Intro 948A, 1107 was mentioned. Why was 1107 tethered to Intro 948A when no one had anything to say about Intro 1107? Because this was clearly a structured attack on Intro 948A in order to use 1107 as an albatross. So let me play my testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Appreciate you.
Hello, my name is Tony Lindsay.
Oh, do I have to hold it? Yeah, hi, my name is Tony Lindsay. I'm the president of New York Homeowners Alliance. I'm actually the person who drafted the language that led to Intro 948. I'm disappointed to see all of the false talking points that have been delivered here today. And it's particularly troubling because I hear a lot of language that is being wrapped in equity and protection of Black people,
Harry, you
while at the
speak.
same time, local law 18 has accelerated the displacement of Black people out of their communities. Even the HTC members here today, many of them are homeowners themselves, but as union members, they're prohibited by the HTC from sharing their own homes. So I just want people to understand that a lot of the talking points that you've heard today here, they are false. And I want to make something clear. Under local law 18, tenants, renters are not impacted whatsoever. And the only thing it does is it creates a narrow carve out. And to see the campaign of misinformation that has been pushed behind this bill, it's astounding to me. So I just want to make sure that we get one thing clear, because Christian Klausner was here earlier, and I've spoken to him many times about this, and he was basically arguing to violate the rights of people within their own domiciles because of a possibility of a bad actor breaking the rules, even though they already have rules in place for that. And probably the last thing that I want to say, because I know it's like I'm on limited time, is that
yeah, sorry. I looked over at the clock and I had like 4 seconds left. So I just was trying so I wanted to rush it. Look,
I've been trying to squeeze everything in.
Heard the beat, right?
I'll just, yeah, you know what? Hopefully you'll ask me some questions, because I've been trying to squeeze everything in here.
I'm gonna ask you to highlight the two
Yeah.
top points.
Oh, it's one thing.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, because it was a lot that I was hearing. But Klausner also argued that passing Intro 948 was somehow creating an advantage or unequal protection, as it's providing 1- and 2-family homeowners with this specific rule that is catered to them. But you can't argue about unequal protection while you're subjecting private homeowners to unequal enforcement, when you're subjecting them to enforcement that is tailored for commercial operators. These are private dwellings under state law. And that is the problem. That is what's missing from this conversation. 1- and 2-family homes are private dwellings, which means they are your private residence. Nothing in this bill has anything to do with renters. And
Do you see them behind me, Craig?
Yeah, that's disgusting, bro. That is like, it's hard to watch. It's really hard to watch. And I feel like they're being given some type of cue to do that. I don't think they really understand what's being said. I just think they were paid to be there, and somebody's giving them a cue to say, start the thumbs down now.
Yeah, that's clearly what it is. To give, in my opinion, the justification to vote down the bill and say, oh, look, all of these people, the public, there's so much against it. See, that's how propaganda works. A lot of these rallies and these protests that you folks see, it's nothing more than paid actors, entertainment. And I'm sure HTC and Airbnb had some actors out there. But I can tell you, NYHOA and the other actual organizations that had actual small homeowners who were being destroyed by this bill, they were there. They showed up and they were telling their stories. You could clearly see who understood what Intro 948A was about, and you could clearly see who was handed talking points. It's absolutely unequivocally clear and obvious who was using their own words and who was not. So I think the vote on this bill is going to be revealing in many ways of the responsibilities, the loyalties, and the commitment of our city council members to actually representing the interests of their constituents. Because is it going to be your constituents, or is it going to be the hotel interests that are putting pressure on you to act against the most vulnerable people in your community? Pamela says they look like clowns or seals waving their little flippers. Don't they though? Don't they though? But yeah, so okay, I think we got Bonnie again. Let's try it again. Hey, Bonnie.
Hey, Tony.
There it goes.
How
How you doing?
Well, I don't want to derail your conversation, but yeah, over on TikTok, you can see the chat here. You can't see the chat. You can't tell if anybody's waiting, you know. So, you know me, I'm so nosy.
No, it's okay. I mean, it doesn't look like you're live in Discord. No, I'm not live. No, you go to the Discord to get the link to the StreamYard. It's a StreamYard link that you click on in order to join.
Right.
No, you guys can't see the guest. No, no, she's not on there. Okay, yeah, all right. I don't know what's going on. But did you have anything you wanted to say about this at all or anything?
No, Tony, I pretty much hung with you all day, worried about you dropping off from starvation. And yeah, it was pretty pathetic when you did get up there to speak. It was just sad, but you just keep fighting.
Oh, all right, Bonnie. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support.
Well, you know I love you. I'm going back over to the. Sorry, Craig, I can't see you at all on TikTok, but.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm warming. Your voice is warming.
But I'm going to run back over to TikTok so I can read the chat. You know me, I'm nosy.
Oh, okay. Hey, D Blade, it's in the Tony Talks chat. Somebody just give D Blade the link, or go over to Rumble or YouTube or Instagram. I'm live on Instagram. You should see the link. It's on the bottom of the screen of where we're live right now. Okay, sorry. All right, so thank you, Bonnie.
Yeah, for me to get here, I have to keep going to the Discord. I click onto the link that you put on there, and it takes me here, brings me here. So,
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I've got that figured out.
Well, there you go. Come on, D Blade. Come on, bro. Bonnie got this figured out. You don't have it figured out. Aaron, give him the information. Somebody give him the information. I can't keep stopping the podcast to help y'all figure out the technology. All right, but thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate you. All right, take it easy. Oh, whew. I guess we should have got the technology part figured out before we got started. Go ahead.
So, Tony, let me ask you, what is Plan B if this Plan A doesn't go the way we want it to?
Well, I think if we're going to be honest about this conversation, what we're witnessing here is a blatant violation of the constitutional rights of a very specific group of people in New York City who are now victims of unequal protection under the law. And the 14th Amendment guarantees you equal protection under the law. They're also being subjected to Fourth Amendment violations as it pertains to taking, as it pertains to warrantless searches of their homes that are being carried out through an agency that is quite cleverly acting as some sort of a police force separate from the actual law itself. And I want to point this out because I think I did point this out in the hearing, but it was so fast, right? Because I only had 90 seconds after, after hours of false information. I was given 90 seconds to debunk hours of lies. But Local Law 18 is a law that primarily requires registration. No big deal, right? It requires that you register. All right, you want to get your little tax, whatever, boom, registration fee. The city's trying to get their money off of it. Got it. But what it does is it requires you to register with an agency that sets rules that are nearly impossible for you to follow if you are someone who is the owner of a private dwelling residence, meaning if you're someone who resides within your home. Why? Because it is subjecting you to rules and regulations that are tailored to commercial buildings, to multiple dwellings, to state regulated, quote unquote, housing supply for renters. You understand? My private home is not a part of the city's long-term housing supply or the city's housing stock. But the OSE and even the DOB, it operates under this assumption that our homes where we reside are a part of their housing stock. My home belongs to you, New York City. This is literally what they're basing their arguments on, that our homes it belongs to you. I paid the mortgage, I bought it, I paid it off. It's mine. I renovated it. You know, my parents handed it down to me. It does not matter. That's our shit. That's the city's argument. That's ours.
They expect you to help with the homeless crisis. They expect you to do your
now you're touching the real
city citizen and help with the homeless and open up your doors to the homeless, basically, or the immigrants, the illegals.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing, right? We have had decades of abysmal housing policies, economic policies, regulations that have created the exact situation, the economic condition that we're in right now in New York City, that has led to the housing supply shortage, the rental shortage. You know, and what's interesting is that this entire conversation about short-term rentals, which honestly, to me, it's like this shouldn't even be a conversation. Like, this is so minuscule, which is what makes me say, wow, why are they going so hard against this tiny bill that is a tiny carve-out for people who live in their own homes and are trying to just supplement their income? You know why? Because the hotel industry sees any change that's left on the table as a loss, although they're up in double-digit profits. The percentage increase in profits is double-digit over the past year. Actually, it's entirely since Local Law 18 was passed. So, damn, what was the argument I was going to make? Because I was getting there. I'm sorry. It's just so much that I've been trying to get out. What was your question?
You're making a point about overregulation, how we've been hit with that.
Oh, right. So, okay, right. So what I was trying to say is, with all of their talking points about how short-term rentals are, you know, the housing supply, the rent, the prices of rent. First of all, the data says that every single thing they said is a lie, because rent has gone up and housing supply has gone down ever since Local Law 18 was passed. But why are they not talking about the more than 50,000 rent stabilized units that are being warehoused right now, meaning they are being kept off of the market? What happens when you remove 50,000 units from the rental market? What happens to the supply, folks? Let's do some math here. The supply goes down. So when there are less available units to rent, what happens to the demand for it? It goes up. So when the demand goes up, what happens with the pricing for these ultra valuable units now? That's right, it goes up. So it artificially inflates the market. When you continue to overregulate these buildings so that many of them are disincentivized from putting these apartments on the market, they are going to decrease the supply, which will increase the demand and send the rents skyrocketing. What about NYCHA? Because the council member who sponsored the bill, Mercedes Narcisse, she asked that question of the director, the deputy director of the HPD. She asked that of the OSC. Well, what's the vacancy rate in NYCHA? They didn't have any information. They didn't have an answer. Well, I do, and I did. Had they allowed me to speak, which they didn't. There are 7,300 vacant units in NYCHA. That's 4.5% of their supply. What's going on? Well, we know that New York City is the worst landlord in the country, the worst slumlord in the country. But their concern isn't about the 57,300. I'm sorry. Yeah, the 57,300 documented units that are being withheld from the market, and there are more. They're concerned with people, with grandma who's sharing a bedroom in the back of her house or the attic or her other unit to visitors coming into the city to supplement her fixed income. That's who's threatening hotel jobs. That's who's threatening the housing supply. The people who are trying to supplement their income in their own homes in order to stay above water, which local law 18 pulled the rug out from under them.
You know, one of the things he had said was you've been tricked into supporting a MAGA, I don't know, a MAGA affiliated company, Airbnb. How did he make that connection? How is Airbnb and MAGA related in any way? And how does MAGA benefit if homeowners can now rent out and supplement their income? I don't get the correlation.
Well, there is no correlation, but I think what it is I think the CEO or the founder of Airbnb, I don't know if he contributed to Donald Trump or something. I don't know, but that's just another intellectually lazy way of trying to trigger people into say, oh my God, Orange Man bad. This bill must be bad. See, that's their way of connecting me.
Right.
To Airbnb. It connects us to Airbnb because when you get to make the conversation about Airbnb,
right?
Oh, that's going to play into all the biases, right?
Right.
Forget the fact that Airbnb isn't mentioned in this bill.
Right.
Airbnb never supported us. We never asked for support from Airbnb. Airbnb has never donated a penny to our organization or even tried to. Airbnb, honestly, they actually actively suppressed our bill because they were pushing for some other bill.
Right.
So when you try to tie this bill to Airbnb, I mean, what do people usually do? The easiest way to what's the word? The easiest way to dismiss something that is valuable and beneficial to the collective is when you label it as something bad. That's right. What people always do in arguments today, right? If they want to kind of invalidate whatever you're saying, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to label you. Oh, you're MAGA. Oh, right. oh, you're a racist. Oh, you're a transphobe. Oh, you're xenophobic. Because anything you say after that, no one wants to hear.
Right. It gives them a reason, or it gives them the green light to turn their brain off. So now once he made that connection with Trump to you and Airbnb, it's like, oh, I don't even have to listen. Bingo. Once they said the word Trump, I could just turn my brain off and say, well, this must be bad. I'm not going to use any critical thought. I'm just going to lean into whatever Trump is attached to is bad for everything. And I'm just going to go against it. So that's probably what the people who are in the back doing this, because you probably gave them talking points like, yeah, it's a Trump bill, basically. So you don't have to vote.
Literally.
That's probably all you had to say.
Literally. They gave credit for my intellectual property.
Right.
Donald Trump. Tony doesn't have agency over his own thoughts or his own opinions. The small homeowners who are losing their homes, going into foreclosure, some of them selling their homes for pennies on the dollar. No.
Right.
We're not thinking for ourselves. It's Trump.
And you know what's crazy? They did the same thing with Kennedy, with Robert RFK. They did the same thing with him, and it was it was very strange to me that this man is basically advocating for Black people, but because he was associated, or because the Trump administration, after the Democrats did Robert Kennedy so bad, and they basically ran a campaign against him. The Trump administration brought him up, but he's like, listen, I just need to get access to do the good for the well-being of the people, for the collective. I don't think he was assigned to any party. He was like, listen, the Democrats was the ones running the lawfare against me. It wasn't the Republicans. It was them trying to suppress me, trying to get me kicked off the ballot. I just need to get in there to change what's being done to our kids. And he started like making sense about maybe we're being over-vaccinated, but because he was attached to Trump, the conversation
shut down.
They didn't want to hear it.
They didn't want to hear it.
At the risk of their own health, of their family, of their children, they don't want to hear it. All they see is that he's attached to Trump. So I just need to be against this guy, and I don't even need to listen to what he's saying. So I think the same thing is happening with your bill. I think he cleverly, because when I was reading the comments, when he just said, "Oh, you're being tricked by a MAGA-led company," and I was like, where did he get MAGA from in this? I think he did that intentionally to just muddy the whole conversation and have people just go against you without even listening to the argument or listening to the tenets of the argument.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Whoa. Why do I have an echo? Hello?
Echo.
Okay. Yeah. One quick second. I'm sorry, Dan. This is weird. Somebody's ringing my doorbell. Give me 1 second.
All right.
Dan, give me a quick second. You can talk. Sorry, my son must be sleeping. Yeah. Can y'all hear me? Yeah, you got me?
Yeah, still here.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so that's what they do in order to try to, invalidate the truth that you're telling. They will try to trigger you with catchphrases like MAGA, Orange Man,
Trump bad.
Trump bad. Therefore, giving themselves the excuse not to even bother reading the bill. And the one thing that seems absolutely clear is that everyone who is standing against this bill, they either didn't read it or they're deliberately lying about it. I mean, that's it. That's all it is. And that is why, listen, I challenge every single person who spoke out against this bill, from Kirsten Foy, who's really not that important because he's just a hired voice, mouthpiece, to Christian Klausner, the the director of the Mayor's Office of Special Enforcement, Eric Adams, who, of course, because he says the hotel industry was his first. Apparently, he just put out a statement against 948A, and the incoming mayor, Zoran Mamdani, who has done the same. I invite the deputy of the deputy director of the HPD who testified against it. All of you against me. Let's have a conversation. Debunk me, please. Say all of the things that you said in that hearing for hours before I even got a chance to speak, and then y'all left before Tony went up there and got 90 seconds. All I want is a public conversation. How hard can that be? There's a reason why they've been deliberately keeping me and keeping our organization out of the conversation. Why? Because we're the only group of people that are insulated from the lazy attacks that they have been levying against each other as these corporations. We're not a special interest group. Nobody funded us. Our opinions are our own. If you look at social media, under the posts that have been put up by these lobbyists that really don't get no traction anyway, you see a sea of commentary. They're getting ratioed by small homeowners who clearly know the language of the bill, cooking them in the comment section. And you know what they did? You know what they do? They block them. Now they're blocking them for debunking them. They're not even being disrespectful. You got small homeowners who are going under these HTC posts and saying this is not true. Intro 948A, it specifically addresses A, B, C, D, 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 B. Blocked. Blocked. You can't make this up, bro. And I would argue that this is actually insulting to the public, to the collective, to Black and Hispanic people who are out here being convinced to actively protest against a bill that actually protects the interests of them and their families. But how insulting is it if you're going to just comply and not even do the research yourself? Do you remember during COVID when they tried to shame everyone for doing their own research? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When people asked questions, they were like, shut up, comply, put that thing in your arm. Remember Bill DeBozo? Cheeseburger, French fries, vaccine.
Oh, I heard you.
Vaccine.
Too. All for a vaccine? Oh, this is amazing.
They look at you as as children.
Yeah.
But the bad guy is the guy who's out here saying, oh, hey guys, no. Here's the truth. I put it up. Here it is, right here on the platter for you. Just read it. Read it. That's it. Why has nobody read this bill that they're protesting against? Has anyone thought about that? But yeah, listen, I know I see a lot of you guys are commenting over on TikTok. Why don't you guys get off of TikTok and come over to YouTube, X, Rumble, Instagram, all of those places where I'm simultaneously streaming, because then your comments that you're putting in here, I can actually put it on the screen over there. That's the reason why I'm trying to get you guys to go over there, or even click on the StreamYard link that's here on this video that you guys can't see because you're on TikTok, or go into my Discord and get the link to the StreamYard, because you can either join the conversation or you can comment and I can put your comments on the screen. What's my IG name? It's Tony Lindsay _director, but damn. YouTube, I'm Tony L Talks. Tony L Talks, one word, on YouTube, on Rumble, on X, on X too, Tony L Talks. Instagram is Tony Lindsay with an A _director. All right, it's in my link tree. Yes, go to the profile, it's in the link tree. Yeah, see, I need one of my moderators on TikTok to answer these questions for people, to tell them so I don't, distract from the stream. But yeah, sorry. So go ahead.
They're actively ignoring like the wealth loss that Black and browns are experiencing just to support this other bill and to demagogue your bill instead of working with you. So that means they have to ignore the foreclosure rates that's happening here in New York City, especially for Black and brown. They have
Interesting point, Craig, because Christian Klossner, the executive director of the Mayor's Office of Special Enforcement, was asked that very question by City Council member Kevin Riley, whose constituents are being crushed under the weight of local law 18 enforcement. So you just actually given me a pretty good segue into this. So why don't we just play Christian Klossner's words himself? This is the man who wrote the rules of that are being enforced on the Mayor's Office of Special Enforcement. He's an attorney, by the way, former narcotics prosecutor who decided to become housing progressive activist. I want you all to hear what he had to say when pressed on this issue. Not even really pressed, slight questioning. So you guys can hear it from his own mouth.
Text to out of the committee consensus process and into the mediation
That's
process.
Not him.
There were attempts through this process to try to come up with some kind of language that addressed everyone's concern and obtain consensus that is common for our.
All right, 240.
Everyone back to the table and get.
Hold on.
This instance as
come on.
Side the fact that this whole front.
And I'll get to it.
Was at least aware of what the department's final position was going to be.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. Councilmember Riley.
Listen,
Thank you, Chair Sanchez, and thank you for your leadership in hosting.
that's Kevin right there. Now that man is bro, love this guy. This is a guy that actually represents his constituents. He's unbiased, he's fair, he's intelligent, and he understands the bill. Listen.
This hearing today. Thank you to the administration for being here. Just have a few questions. Given the data indicating that rents have increased and vacancies have remained flat since the implementation of Local Law 18, despite a significant decrease in short-term rentals, what specific evidence does the agency have to demonstrate that the current regulations are effectively addressing the housing shortage and the affordability crisis?
So you guys understand the question? I just want to make sure everybody understands the question. The question is, being that Local Law 18 was touted as something to help with the rental supply, the available housing stock, and deal with the rising costs of rent, and the fact that the opposite has occurred, have you guys kept any data or any information? Like what's your assessment of that? Listen.
Local Law 18 wasn't meant to address it in its entirety, right?
What?
Rent is a complex set of factors. And people who are described, let me say what
You see how he's getting flustered, right?
What?
Y'all see the flustering, right? Now you saying that that's not what it was passed for? Listen.
Law 18 was intended to do. It was intended to stop permanent housing from being used from short-term rentals because it was linked to rent increases. It was not intended to lower rent.
What is he
It was
saying?
not intended to lower rent, and it was linked to rent increases. Shouldn't he be able to articulate how it was linked to rent increases? But let's keep going. Oh, and by the way, you're gonna hear everybody gasp, like, what, nigga? What, like, what you talking about? Listen, look what happens. The sergeant at arms is gonna have to be like, yo, chill. Listen.
It was meant to stop people from taking units of housing out of the housing stock.
So I understand that, Commissioner. I only have 3 minutes, so I understand that. I'm not saying it does. That's the argument that's being portrayed. So that's the only reason I brought that up. So I understand that was in the cause of Local Law 18, but that's the argument that's being brought to us as legislators. So I'll move on to the next question because you said that wasn't the cause or the reason for it.
If I may,
Of course.
I would refer back to the legislative history, right? You can read what was said at the prior hearings and during the adoption, and it was not promised. The promise was if we prevent these units from being used for short-term rentals, the sponsor of the bill actually said, our hope is that they will be returned to the rental market.
Okay.
Many of them have been.
You heard him tell people, like, yo, this dude just flat out lied, bro. Now it's, well, our hope was that it was gonna happen. That's what we said. But let's go, because he's gonna ask him that question.
Thank you, Commissioner. Were you finished, Commissioner?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Is there any specific data or analysis the agency conducted to assess the impact of Local Law 18 on different demographic groups, particularly Black and Latino homeowners? And how does proposed amendments like Intro 948 address any disproportionate burdens identified?
I would refer you back to the record. We didn't do any studies on the impacts of the bill.
Okay.
Wow.
Did you hear that?
Right. So just like the pandemic is just, trust us.
Did you hear that? Have you done any studies to understand the impact or the disproportionate impact that it has had on people since the law was passed? No, we didn't do no studies. We don't care. We're not interested in that information. Bro! What?
So the bill is not based on any science, any metrics.
No data.
No data at all. It's just, this is our hope. We're going to write this bill and we're going to hope, based on nothing, that it's going to give us the result that we have assumed.
That we said was going to happen.
Right. But
no, we was just hoping for that.
No, we just hoping. And we don't know how it's affecting Black and brown. We have no idea, but this is important to have.
Bro.
Based on what? Based on what exactly? And he can't articulate it. It's evident right there.
Okay, so I can't even continue with this dude, right? But I want to show you all something. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but now there was back and forth with Klausner for like a while. I don't know, maybe an hour, whatever. It was a long time that they were going back with all those people on all those panels, right? I go up there, 90 seconds. Just remember that. 90 seconds. Now, let's look at Mr. Civil Rights Activist, National Action Network, Arc of Justice, Kirsten Foy. How much time did he get to talk? I'll tell you in advance. 8.5 minutes. Let me make that clear. Kirsten Foy was afforded 8.5 minutes to lie about Intro 948. How long did Tony Lindsay have? 90 seconds. 90 seconds. So let me just I'm not even gonna go through, but let me just play a little bit of his Chat GPT script that he read at that hearing that was devoid of any factual information or research.
Of course. Thank you everyone who attended. We're gonna move over to Zoom. You have the script?
Hold on.
Anybody else in the room? Okay.
948, that we have to put rights organization.
In your testimony.
Look,
communities
still
certainly
talking.
merit to the argument.
Oh Lord. Oh, still
City,
talking. Hold on.
That's New York.
Still talking.
Still reading.
Good afternoon or good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you for your durability and your diligence. I have come to speak in opposition to Intro 948 and 1104.
1107.
In 2022, Local Law 18 established the right balance between homeowners' rights and city housing needs. I fought to establish that balance, and I remain proud that I did so. That balance we established has allowed for the responsible and accountable growth of home sharing and expanded the.
He just said it allowed for the responsible and he said the growth of home sharing. Short-term rentals are down 90. It eliminated 90% of the people who are doing short-term rentals in New York City. 90% gone. This fool just said that it is allowed for the expansion.
Market for home sharers in a reasonable.
Oh, by the way, listen to how his voice is trembling because he know his ass is lying. He don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Profitable and quantifiable manner. These proposed laws, Intro 948 and 1107, would upset that proper balance and catastrophically redefine housing, not just for home sharers, not just for renters, but for all New Yorkers.
But notice he'll never explain how, and also notice that he did what everybody else keeps doing. They keep talking about 1107, but they never say anything. You understand? You notice how it's Intro 948 and 1107.
Pitting one large group of working class New Yorkers against a smaller group of working class New Yorkers. And this regressive change would incentivize the removal of housing stock and repurpose it for commercial enterprise that erodes both housing stock and unionized jobs.
So you hear what he's saying. First of all, what housing stock? My house isn't your fucking housing stock.
Right. He's mislabeling. Right. He's lumping y'all all into one group.
Yeah.
And that's the only way his argument works.
Yeah, but it still doesn't work.
It's disingenuous, though.
And how does it threaten union jobs?
Right, exactly. Because union workers don't work inside of one home owner occupied houses. They don't work there.
But yet this bozo is allowed to read his Chat GPT script like uninterrupted while his voice is trembling because he know his ass is lying. And he makes sure that he comes to testify after Tony Lindsay leaves. Coward.
We have to protect workers, renters, and new home sharers. These regressive changes ask the most vulnerable workers in our city to bear the brunt of convergence of unaffordable housing costs and the shrinkage of good-paying unionized hospitality jobs.
How is there shrinkage of those jobs? The jobs are up. They've been steadily going up. The hotel profits are up. Everything is up. What are you talking about, fool?
I don't know.
And explain how someone sharing their guest bedroom or their grandma suite inside their home where they live is somehow hurting union jobs. Explain that, fool. As a matter of fact, the HTC has rules where their own workers, their own union members are prohibited from doing any sort of home sharing in their homes, even though their salaries are not enough to cover the cost of living in New York City.
Wow. Wow.
Fact check me on that, anybody.
Women, primarily women of color, single mothers, immigrant workers, and those already on the precipice of food and housing insecurity will now have to work harder and longer to stay in the city they love and serve, and they cannot currently afford. We are asking our loyal, capable, and dedicated unionized workforce to compete with leisure travelers and tourists for beds and baths. This is immoral and economically unsustainable. We can have it all. We can have a vibrant and affordable city, record tourism, and a strong working and middle class of homeowners.
Record tourism. Okay, I can't. Look, the dude talked for like damn near 10 minutes, bro. Look.
Yeah, he basically said we got to help the hotels stay afloat.
Bro, yeah, we got to fight for these hotels, bro.
That's what he's saying.
We got to fight for these hotel profits.
But I mean, he's using black and brown and black women. He's using all the buzzwords. But he's basically saying we have to fight for the hotels to keep them afloat. We can't hurt their margins at all. This is what that's going to do.
But here's the funny thing. It never hurt their margins. It never hurt their profits.
Right.
And here's the funny thing. The people who share their homes in the outer boroughs, it's a completely different market. You have people who are families who will come and they look for like a home environment to stay in with their kids. Imagine a family comes to New York. You think they could afford 3-4 hotel rooms that cost $500 a night, hoping that they're all together? It's too expensive.
Right.
And bro, there's so many dumbass arguments. First of all, New York City has lost more than $1.5 billion in tourism revenue, and it's continuing to decline. You know why? That revenue is going to New Jersey because nobody wants to stay in New York because it's too fucking expensive. Right. And here's another argument, which I do not understand how thinking people can't see this. In New York City, in the outer boroughs, Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, where else? I'm missing somewhere. Bronx, Queens, Staten Island. What the hell just happened? Wait, you got Manhattan, Queens, Bronx, Staten Island,
Brooklyn, Queens,
and Brooklyn. I'm in Brooklyn. I forgot about Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yo, but in the outer boroughs, first of all, oh, you got a lot of noise. Let me mute you.
All right.
Yeah, in the outer boroughs, first of all, the concentration of the most hotels you're going to find in Manhattan. Where is the center of tourism in New York City? It's Manhattan. It's Broadway. It's Times Square, Empire State Building. All of the sites, everything is in New York City. That the Statue of Liberty, all tourism it funnels into Manhattan. So what happens when the hotels are too expensive? Nobody can afford to stay there. What happens when now you have families who want to visit the city? They stay in these outer boroughs that are often under-resourced by the city as it is. What happens is this. It increases the money going into the local economies due to the additional foot traffic that goes to the small businesses. It helps to supplement the income of the homeowners who are drowning in costs, regulation, fee, cost of living, property taxes, insurance. And what else does it do? And here's the most important part. It increases the overall capacity to host tourists that all go where? They all still funnel into Manhattan.
They take the train into Manhattan. So if they're staying in Brooklyn, they're going to get on the MTA.
They're going to Manhattan anyway, bro.
Either the monthly or whatever extended Metro card, which is going to help the MTA go into Manhattan.
It increases like vastly the amount of tourism revenue, whether direct or indirect, that comes into the city. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Right.
And now there'll be the argument, oh, it's a loss for the hotel union, the hotel. No, actually, it's not. And let me give you some data, because people don't seem to like data at all who have been opposed to this. At the height of short-term rentals in New York City, now I'm talking about when all of the bad actors were at their peak. I'm talking about the people who were doing Airbnb arbitrage, and they were leasing dozens of apartments across the city and creating these huge multi-million-dollar operations. I'm talking about the multiple dwelling unit owners who were converting a lot of their buildings into just hotel, like short-term stay hotels. Even at the height of that, do you know how much of the quote-unquote housing stock they accounted for? Less than 1%.
Wow.
But besides that, the total revenue that was created with quote-unquote Airbnb, short-term rentals, $85 million. Guess how much the total revenue was for that year? Not even the total revenue. Guess what the profits were for the hotel industry that year? $1 billion.
Wow.
The total revenue for people who were sharing their homes, all 40,000 people, totaled 85 million. The total profits for the hotel industry, more than $1 billion. I guess that kind of explains why the hotel unions, like the hotel industry, is like, we could throw a couple of million into this.
Right.
We want to scrape up all the rest of them pennies that we want, even though most of the people who are staying in, your little guest suite and shit like that, they're not going to these damn expensive ass hotels anyway. You see the problem here?
So during his testimony, did he offer any metrics that support what he said the bill would do? It would decimate the union workers. Like, he's basing that on what?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
He's just saying it. He's just saying it struck a balance. I fought for it. It struck a balance. And
every single person that showed up at the hearing on the 20th, of all of those hours of testimony, every single person who said that this was threatening union jobs and workers, not a single person articulated how. Not one. Those are the facts. Not a single person. Nobody. The only people who cited actual data were the people who were pro Intro 948A. And now this brings me to shit. Let me get to it, bro. This brings me to the gentrifiers who were allowed to testify against Intro 948A, which included the people who advocated for and drafted Local Law 18 under the guise of equity. The whole equity thing. Let's see who they are. So smug, too. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Tom Kaler. This is the dude that I've been cooking all over X. Yeah. Oh, you know what? This is actually a good example here. Hold on. This is actually good. I want you to see the people who are opposed to Intro 948A and tell me what you notice. Oh, shit.
So the real estate company realized they can make a profit by buying up this home and turning them into hotel. Homeowner like me will not be able to complete. Even worse, our house costs will rise even more because this bill turned residential neighborhood into tourist area. With my union job, I'm able to save up to buy a home one day in the city that I love. But if you pass this bill, home price will go up and I could lose my job, ruin any chance I have of this dream. This bill not leave homeowner better off. Instead of helping tech company, we should be helping current potential homeowner by creating better paying job and lowering.
The irony of the hotel worker saying that we should create better paying jobs on behalf of the same hotel union that she worked for.
She just said a whole bunch of like everything. Like it's crazy. She said if
my
the
God,
bill passes, I'm going to lose my job.
Oh my God. But imagine how wicked that is to tell your workers, if y'all don't come out here and advocate against this bill, you're going to lose your damn job. And then they come out here and say, I won't be able to buy a home if you save people's rights to have their home.
And I think she just said the solution is to create better work, better paying jobs versus
what does it, bro?
Lose your house. Everybody else should lose their house, and then we can work on creating better paying jobs so I can buy a house.
Bro, wait, hold up. But how you work for the union and you get on there saying we need to fight for better paying jobs. And I'm saying this on behalf of the union. What?
I don't know.
Yo, bro.
But she's reading. She's reading.
That's what I wanted you to see.
Yeah, she's reading what she's been given. She doesn't understand what she's saying, though.
Of course she doesn't. She didn't write that. You know that this is just a canned speech, right? And that's the thing. You don't think that they spoke that they selected the most Hispanic sounding person to read that, bro? Come on, bro. I'm tired of them using us as props in their advocacy while simultaneously criminalizing us. Hold on, where is it? Wait, what happened to it? While simultaneously criminalizing us in their ads, painting Black male Airbnb guests as criminals, saying, do you want them next door?
So if you do short-term rentals, your neighborhood is going to automatically turn into a tourist.
Too many Black people.
Tourist area.
Hey, OSK, come back. Where you went, OSK? Damn, I wanted OSK to come up. Y'all are coming in here.
I think they might be dropping off by not by anything they're doing. I think it might be kicking them.
Somebody said it's given 1997 crime bill racial jungle. Ain't it though?
Mm-hmm.
Ain't it though?
Super predator.
Mm-hmm. Super predators. Mm-hmm. You don't want Airbnb in your neighborhoods. You don't want these super predators out there, right? But let's go past the lady.
The cost of living in New York City. The city council should listen to the outshore resident of New York City, not just lie that Airbnb is spreading. Vote no on both measures.
Thank you.
Look at the clapping seals.
You may begin.
But it's not Airbnb is not even there. Is anyone from Airbnb there?
Yeah, one of their people showed up, but yeah, but that's the whole scam, right? It's Airbnb. See, when you take intro 948 and you just remix it and say, hey, this is Airbnb.
Right. This is
Airbnb.
They're the ones who want this. The big bad corporation wants this.
No one wants to hear anything else. And here's the funny thing. Short-term rentals existed in New York City decades before Airbnb was ever created. Airbnb just created their company and capitalized on something that was already a thing. This is purely a war between two corporations battling over profits, which has nothing to do with us.
There was month-to-month leases. We were doing it for a long time.
This is crazy. But let me now, the guy who's about to speak, this is Tom Kaler, the lead propagandist for the HTC. and I want you to hear him and his smug ass.
Hey, thank you very much.
Yo, OSK, come back. Why'd you drop? Come back into the StreamYard.
My name is Tom Kaler. Nowhere did I not put myself back on? Hey, all right, thank you. And welcome this afternoon. My name is Tom Kaler. The Coalition Against Illegal Housing is a housing advocacy group that wrote, sponsored, and helped to pass Intro 2309 back in 2021, which then became Local Law 18 in 2022. So Local Law 18 is what precipitated this little brouhaha that we're having here today. So you are welcome to blame me and my colleagues for that if you.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to blame you and your colleagues for that and their racist asses. I can't wait. And here's a funny thing, right? If you have he just said it, right? If you have the authors of Local Law 18 right there on the panel, and you have the author of Intro 948A right there, who just testified, who's sitting right behind them. Wouldn't it make sense, if you want to get to the bottom of this, to call both authors of both bills up to debate the merits?
Facts. That would make too much sense.
90 seconds. Hold on.
You would like. But what you can't do is to say that Local Law 18 did anything other than require short-term rental platforms and hosts to register with the city as any other business in the city is required.
Okay, did you hear what he said? Local, because I think I started playing it late. Local Law 18 did nothing other than require registration and blah, 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 blah. Remember I said that in my testimony? And I don't know if you guys remember why I said that was important.
To do. Local Law 18 did not change a single existing New York City housing law, period, which means that 1 and 2 family homeowners and apartments can, in fact, rent their spare rooms in New York City. That is legal. They can rent their spare rooms for cash to help pay for their mortgages. What they can't do is rent their entire units and then be off premise. Now, this regulation of being on premise is the most important one in order to keep any residential housing unit from becoming a permanent short-term rental. Once you vacate that, then you have taken out the regulation which prevents that from happening. It's that important, and thank you very much.
Thank you. You are.
Okay, she's gonna let him talk again. That was completely false. And that was, but wait, but did you hear the argument, what he just made? He's arguing that in order for you to have your right to share a space within your home, you are required under the housing maintenance code to be on the premises during those stays. That's his. Remember, I told you all about unreasonable search and seizure and this warrantless intrusion into people's homes. How dare you tell me where I have to be when I'm sharing space in my home? If that's my home and I live there, how dare you tell me you better not go on vacation? You better not go to work for too long. You better make sure you sleep in there with your guests. This is literally what they're saying. But let's continue.
Taller than I thought you were. We've only met over Zoom. But thank you. Thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for your testimony.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chandra Singh.
No, let me just keep going. Hold on.
1,000 across the city.
All right, this is Murray.
We already saw that happen when
Hold on.
We already saw that happen when Airbnb flooded the city. Out of town investors buy up homes to make mini hotels. Landlords realize they can make more money with tourism than rentals. And people who give up there have to move. People who grew up there have to move. When, if you want to help homeowners, you could.
Bro, how obvious is this that this dude is reading a script that was provided to him that he can barely even read, bro.
Consider people to mortgage support programs or work lower food groceries. Thank you for your time.
It's too obvious for me. And he doesn't understand what he's reading. He those are not his words. I don't know how they got him to get up there. I don't know what they told him. But he doesn't understand what he's saying.
So then that would mean that that's not his thoughts.
Right.
So who wrote that for him?
Right, exactly. He doesn't have a true grasp of what he's asking for. And it's disingenuous to even put him up there. They just probably gave him one side of the argument, said this bill is bad and we need you to fight for this other thing which is good, and that's it. Whether you understand it or not, don't worry about it. Just read this.
Yeah. And here's Murray Cox, the other one.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Committee Chair Sanchez and council members. My name is Murray Cox. I'm the founder of Inside Airbnb, a data.
Oh shit! Hold
We
on.
already saw that happen. People who grew up.
Council members.
Sorry, hold on.
All of that will be put at risk if
Shit.
We already saw that happen when Airbnb flooded the city. Out of town investors buy up homes to make mini hotels. Landlords realize they can make more money with tourism than rentals. And people who give up
Bill
their
doesn't touch landlord.
have to move.
Doesn't help
People
them.
who grew up
Doesn't
there
do
have to
anything
move.
to landlord at all.
When if you want to help homeowners,
If
you could
want to
consider people to mortgage support programs or work lower food groceries.
Oh
Thank
my
you for your
God.
time.
Oh my
Thank you.
God. Do you hear the people that they rolling out?
Good afternoon,
against my
Committee
bill?
Chair Sanchez and council members.
Listen.
My name is Murray Cox. I'm the founder of Inside Airbnb, a data activist project that provides data on short-term rental impacts in cities around the world. We also research policies, regulations, and enforcements.
Remember, he just said that he conducts data analysis. I want you
Okay,
guys
I'm ready for this.
I want you guys to remember that. He's, by the way, the owner of this publication that has been putting out like crazy propaganda for years about this.
Including, I've written a report for the European Parliament on short-term rentals. That's why I respect the well-researched opening remarks that you gave, Chairman Sanchez. I also want to say that for 9 years, I lived in a rented apartment in a two-family brownstone. So I was part of the 319,000 households who rent in 1- and 2-family homes.
He doesn't even live in New York City, bro. He lives upstate.
This group of people is not made up. People rent in 1- and 2-family homes. And laws like Intro 948 and 1107 make it easier to short-term rent, but they take housing off the market. Another category of renters that is hidden are roommates, people that are renting, that are sharing, where there might be a primary resident or the homeowner. They number 224,000 across the city. They're also directly impacted by short-term rental laws.
He
I
hasn't
also want to
explained
address
how.
what Public Advocate Williams said. I think he was advocating for some type of yearly cap. Other cities around the world are moving towards restrictions. LA tried a cap of 120 and they said they couldn't enforce it. People use multiple platforms and it's impossible to enforce across different platforms. And I could talk about that after the hearing if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very helpful, Murray.
Murray.
To Miss.
Interesting that she called him by his first name. And when Tom Kaler went up there, she was like, hey, you're taller than I thought from our last meeting. Seems quite personal, the relationship. Also with this dude, Kirsten Foy, very personal.
Mr. Kyler, in your remarks, Kaler, you said Kaler.
Oh, so she has additional questions for him. Isn't that something?
Thank you.
Hey,
Okay.
Kyler, it's one of the names. What can you do?
Okay. In your remarks, you said the biggest threat in this package of proposed tweaks, reforms, is the insertion of hostless short-term rentals. Can you describe why that is your perspective? What maybe you have seen, and maybe Mr. Murray, if you have a perspective here too, what you've seen in other municipalities that you think could happen here in the city?
The only regulation in New York City law that keeps permanent residential dwellings residential in New York City, as well as New York State, allows for roomers, boarders, and lodgers for less than 30 days.
That is a lie. Anybody look up the state multiple dwelling law and look up what the definition of a boarder or a lodger is. It is more than 30 days. It is someone who stays there for more than 30 days. He just told a blatant fucking lie. No one could challenge it. Oh, by the way, I'm sitting right behind them, by the way.
But it allows them if the primary leaseholder is on site.
Another lie. There is no language anywhere in the state multiple dwelling law or even the administrative code or the housing maintenance code that says that a primary resident has to be on site during the stay of any short-term guests, long-term guests, or any of the like. That is a blatantly false lie. One that I have debunked publicly multiple times, and this imbecile just went to that hearing and did it again anyway. He said it again. You know why he did it? You know why he said it again? Because he's allowed to say that, because the people who are letting him say that shit, they need him to say it.
Once you say the primary leaseholder doesn't have to be on site anymore, this bill 948, there's no limitations on when the primary leaseholder doesn't have to be on site.
Do you see how authoritarian all of this what they're talking about is?
And in fact, the primary leaseholder can become just a paper primary leaseholder. All they have to do is put their name on the paper and say, yes, I'm the primary leaseholder. There's no requirement how many nights they have to actually occupy that space, period. So
what?
Y'all hear he's talking about leaseholders, right? Who does my bill address that I've said 50,000 times?
Homeowner occupied.
People who own and reside in their own homes. This bill has nothing to do with renters, leaseholders, LLCs, investors, landlords. These people are blatantly lying, and they're being allowed to do so. By the way, I'm sitting right behind them, signaling the chair. Hello, author, guy that just spoke. Can I come up there to respond to this? Ignored.
once you remove that regulation, then there is no longer any way, shape, or form to prove that that space is being used as a primary residence anymore. Many other cities have tried this. Murray, who does research on this, can be more specific about that. But that is the only regulation in New York City that prevents primary residences from becoming permanent short-term rentals.
Everything that that man just said is 100% false.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Tom, isn't that interesting?
You did mention, Murray, you did mention
Murray.
a municipality that found it impossible to enforce. Which one did you
Los
say?
Angeles, the city of
Los
Los
Angeles.
Angeles. Yep.
Thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
There are other cities that are, like for example, in Amsterdam, they tried having
Wow.
caps. They started off with 90-day caps per year, so that they, the resident could rent out for up to 90 days in individual stays. They reduced it to 60, to 30, and then they tried to ban it. The entire home rentals are, where the owner is not present, are the most profitable to rent out, and there's more incentives to do it. And so people might even short-term rent for a short period of the year and leave it vacant the rest of the year. And so it takes housing off the market if you allow entire home units to be rented.
Thank you. Thank you for your perspectives on this panel.
So 90 seconds.
90
basically-
seconds.
It applies to who they wanted to apply to.
Yeah.
There was no real
90 seconds. All of that. Here, 90 seconds. This is the most blatantly biased display of a city council member show. Like I don't even understand this, bro. Like, I think people just expect me to be like politically correct and polite and just not call out what everyone saw. I'm not built like that. What we witnessed here was a clear hit job on Intro 948A by a housing chair who clearly does not want that to pass, and gave a platform for multiple people to spew lies for hours, when the actual people who are qualified to articulate the bill was given 90 seconds. 90 seconds. But there's one more thing I wanted you to see. You know what? This is going to top this off, because then we're going to be done after this, right? Because y'all know I don't like to use the quote unquote race card. You know, like some people, they try to manipulate people based in triggering based on race. But I want you all to understand something. I take particular offense when white people try to use Black and Hispanic people, quote unquote people of color, in their advocacy for policies that directly harm those communities. I find it insulting. I find it condescending and arrogant and extremely racist. And this is something that I always encounter when dealing with white leftists, because you talk about racial equity and justice and all of these things while actively undermining the well-being of the communities that you purport to defend. And I want to show you, remember we talked about this guy, Murray Cox, and he's the data guy. Remember that? I want to play something for you, because after all that time she gave them, and I was sitting there, hello, hey, and people are pointing to me, she called Murray Cox right back up to testify again. Called him back up again. And I want to get to it, because I want you to hear what he said.
In that neighborhood versus the neighborhood demographics. Can you
hold on. Here we go.
Panel.
Let me get it back on the screen so everybody can hear it. Okay. This is her calling Murray Cox back up again to talk about my bill and Local Law 18. I want you guys to hear this.
So that's Murray Cox. Please come back if you're still here. Sharon Lee, Mina Wu, Rose Cabe, Latoya Hilton, Roger Alvarado, and Paige Havener.
Now, I want my intelligent Black folks, those of you who are on the left, I want you to listen to the justification and the data analysis that was done in order to come up with Local Law 18 that we know has had a disproportionate negative impact on Black homeowners. I want you all to hear this. Oh, Dree, I see you in the chat. Dree, you need to go into the Discord or come find me, and I want you to copy the StreamYard link, and I want you to come in here. I want you to hear this, and I want you to ask any questions, because I want you guys to hear this, or at least come watch me on any of my other streams. Tony L Talks on X, Tony L Talks on YouTube, Tony L Talks on Rumble. Let's play it.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Murray, my question for you, I know you've done extensive research analyses of Airbnb in different contexts. And so I wanted specifically to ask you about some findings that you highlighted about Stuyvesant Heights in central Brooklyn, where
anybody that lives in New York, y'all know What's Stuyvesant Heights, Craig?
That's Bed-Stuy.
That's Bed-Stuy. That's the gentrifiers came up in here and was like, nah, we taking that. That's Stuyvesant Heights now, just like how they call Brownsville Ocean Hill now. Bushwick, East Williamsburg.
You have an analysis of the demographics of the Airbnb hosts in that neighborhood versus the neighborhood demographics. Can you just describe that for us in terms of your findings and also your methodology?
Listen.
So I mentioned I was the founder of a project called Inside Airbnb that was collecting data on Airbnb. It started in 2015. And I was living in Bedford-Stuyvesant at the time. I started off by creating some maps of Airbnb in the neighborhood and putting dots on a map. And instead of putting a dot, I put the Airbnb host faces on a map in Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Listen.
And something that was pretty obvious to me as someone that lived in Bedford-Stuyvesant were that a lot of faces of the Airbnb hosts appeared to be white faces, non-black, not black faces. So that this was in 2015. A few years later, I spoke to some researchers from Harvard Business School who had done some studies on racial discrimination in Airbnb. And they talked about some methods that you can use to racially identify with errors.
Notice how he's kind of fidgeting because he's afraid to say what he did. Keep listening.
Pictures of people and put them in different racial categories. And so I decided I didn't use those maps that had the pictures of Airbnb hosts because I didn't think it was the right thing to do. But then using these methods from Harvard Business School, I racially coded every single host in New York City in different, so it's Asian, white, black, or unknown. And using the expertise from the Harvard Business School, where they had also manually coded the photographs as.
I'm sorry he's giving y'all all this word salad, but he's afraid to get to what he did. Let me just tell you now in advance. It was the brown paper bag test. Any black person or any person who understands the history of this country and redlining, he used the brown paper bag test. He created an algorithm to conduct the brown paper bag test that allowed him to subjectively determine who was black enough in order to come up with his metrics on what was fair or what was discrimination or not, while using something that was discriminating and not only erasing light-skinned black people, it erased mixed race people, it erased a huge number of Hispanic people and people who do not identify as white. But let's let Murray fumble through this explanation.
As well as using technology. So they were able to advise on error rates, and we were very conservative in our coding. But the findings that we found that in almost every black neighborhood across New York City, the majority of, so the majority black in the neighborhood, the majority of the Airbnb hosts were white. And we found the biggest disparity was in Stuyvesant Heights, which is like half of Bedford-Stuyvesant, the part that's further east, where we found basically a 1,000% disparity. So the underlying community was 7.4% white. This was back in 2016, 17. It's probably changed. But the Airbnb population was 74% white. So obviously there's, I know it's very problematically to racially code people using photographs, but there was really no other option. And this was in the context of Airbnb making a lot of announcements saying that that Airbnb was good for poor neighborhoods and also.
I'm so sorry he's taking so long fumbling through this, but I'll condense it in a second. But I want you all to hear this mumbling, bumbling foolishness to basically just said you did the brown paper bag test.
They were good for black neighborhoods. And so
which was good for black neighborhoods. Notice how he
As someone that lived in those neighborhoods, my question was, well, who's actually using Airbnb? Who's benefiting from Airbnb? So I'm not saying that there were no black Airbnb hosts in these neighborhoods. Things might have changed since then, but in 2017, there were very large disparities between the underlying communities and the Airbnb population. And so my conclusions were that you could think of Airbnb as a racial gentrification tool.
Oh my God.
So it's displacing housing.
Oh my God.
But it was being done by people that didn't live there before. So if, especially Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Side note, he didn't live there before. He's a gentrifier.
If you go back to, let's say, the 2000s, there was hardly any non-black residents there. So for you to be an Airbnb host there, you're either an investor or someone that's moved there recently.
You mean like the people who voted in Zohran Mamdani?
Thank you for sharing those findings on the record. And I'd be curious if Airbnb ever publicly disputed your data or your analysis.
Wow, more questions.
And I'm asking the room, I don't know if they're still here, I imagine they are. So whether they disputed the data and whether they collect host demographics themselves.
Oh, by the way, I just want you to know that while she's asking that question, she just glanced over to her left. And the person that she happened to look at, he was basically jumping up and down in his seat like a child who has to go to the bathroom, because the person that was acting the fool was the person who literally debunked him live on a podcast and called him out for his racist paper bag test and debunked the whole metrics of his collection of data. But he wasn't allowed to speak.
Know if you know that, but that's a question that I would have for them.
Yeah, so there was quite a vigorous response from Airbnb. And I've documented on my website, like actually what the response was, who responded, and I responded to their response, including getting. So they basically said that I was using like brown paper bag methods, that I was being racist, and so it's fine for them to criticize that, but I don't think they ever denied that
it's fine for them to criticize that.
In these communities, and the majority of Airbnb hosts were not black in these black communities.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure to ask you about that study and on the record and make sure it's part of the hearing record. So thank you. Okay. For our other friends.
Bro. Do we know why that is so problematic? All of those things that man just said, fumbling through it because he knew that he did some racist shit.
No, it's definitely racist.
There's so many elements as to why it's problematic and racist what he did. I'll start just from the top. He made the decision on behalf of the black residents what's good for them and who should be allowed to participate in business in that community. Now, do I agree that New York City is undergoing gentrification and that there's been an increase in population of certain groups, particularly white groups? Yes, absolutely. Not just white people, but yes. But his argument is, even though the black residents who chose, keyword chose, to do Airbnb were benefiting from it, it was just so few of them. So what? We're going to get rid of them. Now, what needed to happen was we needed to see what exactly is the metric that you're using to make the determination that black people are being displaced because of short-term rentals, instead of the investors who were the institutional investors who were buying up dozens of single family and residential homes in order to create to be these landlords where they were charging like huge amounts of money. They weren't doing it for short-term rentals. These are instant. Wall Street was buying up a lot of these brownstones, a lot of these residential homes because of the rising value and the rising cost of rents due to the warehousing that has been consistently happening in New York City. So they were making a lot of money just as landlords. But what happened? The landlord-tenant laws in New York City got in their ass, and they realized that this was a poor investment. And a lot of those same institutional investors, they started to abandon those neighborhoods before this local law 18 debacle happened. So, and oh my God, there's just so many other things. And let me just go to one more thing as well. So he used a racially coded algorithm to determine who was black enough due to, as he acknowledged himself, a lot of complaints that people were getting about racism. They were experiencing racism on Airbnb, right? Well, I was one of those Airbnb hosts who was dealing with these racist issues, but it was from guests who were coming in. And I'll tell you this, and if you're a black Airbnb host, you know that sometimes you get people, a lot of times from other countries like Australia and other places, when they see that there's a black host, they're gonna, you get shit. And then it starts to impact your rating. So what was also happening during that time where people were doing something that I have done, and I've documented this. They were, at that time, nobody had to actually put up a profile pic that was them. So people were putting up like flowers and beach sides. They were putting up photos of their favorite actors. A lot of black folks were putting up pictures that had multiple people, including them. Like, let's say they put themselves in the background and their white and Asian friends in the foreground. Then you had people like me who completely put up a face of a middle-aged, portly white man who looked friendly like Santa Claus, which actually led to me getting 5-star reviews consistently for like 2 years straight until they changed the rules. Why? Because I do remote check-in. I purposely didn't want to encounter my guests, no matter how excellent the customer service, because unfortunately, you're still going to get some people that are going to be dicks because you're a black person hosting them. That's just what happens. So a lot of black folks and Hispanics, they chose the safe route, and they just did not put their actual identity as the profile pic. So this Murray guy was going based off of a control group that was highly flawed and ridiculous at best, that he never should have even attempted to use. And who interpreted the data? He did. No independent entities, no research group. He did. So this white hippie male's subjective interpretation of what's black enough based on an algorithm that he programmed based on the brown paper bag test that was used in redlining was the determinant factor used for the justification of the advocacy, drafting, and passing of local law 18 under the guise of protecting black people, which led to the acceleration of the displacement of black people out of their neighborhoods. And when asked if there were studies done on the disparate impact, what did we hear from OSC director Christian Klausner? Oh, we haven't done any studies on that whatsoever. You motherfuckers don't even care. This is why Tony Lindsay is persona non grata. This is why they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to debate with me because they're all full of shit. They're all liars. And I believe that the people have a right to hear the truth. And you will not silence me. I don't care if there's only 5 people listening to me. They're going to hear the truth. And you're not going to shut me up. And the more the truth is put out there, the more people will latch on to that truth to challenge the lies that have been shared by even your mayor and fake ass black bourgeoisie, black intelligentsia gatekeepers like Kirsten Foy, who is paid opposition. Shit, even Al Sharpton supports my bill. What? Because these people are so blatantly fucking racist that even he has to be, he cannot be silent on this. When you're putting out ads, now I want you all to just see the justification for this. I just want you to see this, the hypocrisy of this. You have the hotel union funding organizations that are putting out this huge campaign under the guise of racial justice, or justice for the middle class, protecting Black and brown communities, putting, as you saw, Hispanic people who can barely read English to read their crib talking points, even though not a single person gave their own opinion. And then simultaneously running ads that are saying, you don't want these Black folks coming up in here in your neighborhood as Airbnb guests. Showing, let me show y'all again. Just so we're clear, folks, because y'all need to see this, because they're simultaneously putting out ads that say what? Safety checks may not reveal criminal activity. Do you want them next door? With the image of a Black Airbnb guest with his carry-on luggage coming up the stairs. This is who Kirsten Foy, former National Action Network activist and head of the Arc of Justice, this is who he is standing with against Black people who own their homes and are drowning under the weight of enforcement that was catered to and tailored for commercial landlords. Y'all better detach yourselves from these traitors, because Malcolm X had very clear opinions on people like them. So, anything you got to say, bro? Because I think I've put enough here.
You said it all. That hearing, that last part, bro. Wow. Wow. He based on pictures, he self-deputized himself to do what's best for Black people, which is
oh yeah, Murray Cox, yeah,
right. Which is crazy.
And when he gave that testimony, who was behind him? Me. Eye contact with me. She never invited me up to rebut anything, not even once.
She sounded like she was helping them. Actually, she said she wanted to make sure that study was on the record.
But in all fairness, she did invite one of the Airbnb an Airbnb rep, Warren something, to come up and respond to it. I don't even know where he is. It was so offensive. Damn, I don't even see it. But yeah, so oh my God. Yeah, so you guys get the point. Oh, there he is. There he is. Hold on. There it is. Here we go. Here we go. Hold on. I want y'all to hear this, and then we're going to be done. All right. Shit. Hold on. Where is it? Here we go. Towards the end.
Does Airbnb collect host demographics, and has Airbnb disputed findings from that research?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to respond. Airbnb does not collect race-based data at all, and we do dispute the findings of Mr. Cox's statement earlier. And even leading Harvard study has found that Mr. Cox's methodology is extremely outrageous and dangerous and offensive. I personally find it offensive as well. I think it flies in the face as well of the work that this council has championed, for many years throughout the city. I think if a city law enforcement agent or even a city agency were conducting research using methodology like this, we'd be having a hearing solely on that.
Yep.
That would probably last longer than this one. And so just wanted to clarify, we do not collect race-based data at Airbnb. And, paying attention to methodology that uses like back of the napkin analysis to scrape data that's extremely unreliable is not going to help further this discussion here. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And if you do not collect host demographics as a company, then on what grounds do you dispute the findings specifically?
Well, I mean, when you look at the study, first and foremost, the study studied only 2 races, right? This is New York City, right? We have multiple.
Thank you.
I mean, this is the melting pot.
Right, but leaving aside the study,
what?
It sounds like you don't know what any of the demographics are of your hosts because you don't collect it, correct? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
We do not collect that data.
Okay. Problems with the study aside, I just want to make sure to understand that on the record. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
What?
She's in the tank, bro.
And she's a Latina.
Yeah, exactly.
Problems with the study aside, I just want to you guys don't collect race-based data, right? Bro. It's so blatant and obvious. Like what? What? Look, y'all. At the end of the day, I did my part, right? But I am going to make something very clear. I'm not taking this lying down. No matter how much you all try to ignore the truth, no matter how much you try to shout me down and shout us down, all of us who are out here under the weight of this illegal enforcement, no matter how much you try, we're not going to be silent, and we're going to hold everyone accountable. And that is why I made sure that after being given 90 seconds, I provided a supplemental testimony that I didn't. Not only did I submit to the housing committee, as was instructed, everyone had like 2 days to do it. Not only did I submit it to them, but I also sent a copy out to every single member of the city council, because I want to make sure that all of you have access to the information that this bill is about, which will give you all no excuse. Because at the end of the day, all of that false information that was spewed in that hearing, I have done you guys the service of debunking all of it. So yeah, my testimony, it's a little lengthy, the written testimony, but hey, I got to debunk about 7 hours of lies. But I have thoroughly dismantled and debunked every lie that was told in that hearing while being given 90 seconds. So at this point, if they don't vote yes on Intro 948A, it's simply because they did not read my testimony, they didn't listen to anything that I said, or this is about the hotel lobby and nothing else. And I know for a fact that there are city council members out there who are afraid of the hotel union, the hotel lobby. They're afraid to piss off the unions. As they say, this is a union town. No, this is a New Yorker town. This is our city. It doesn't belong to the hotel industry. It doesn't belong to any of these corporations. It belongs to the people who built this city, whose tax dollars you are using and funneling into your coffers, and this illegal enforcement that is making people broke. Do your jobs, yo. Because I'm not the one that's going to be out here begging people, because it's quite clear that no matter how respectful you are to these people, you know what you get in return? Yeah, I'm busy. Yeah, just call my scheduler and whatever. And then they never get back to you again. Do you know how many times there are certain city council members I've gone to their offices at least 5 times, emailed them dozens of times, called, done everything, still haven't had a meeting in a year. They don't care, y'all. They don't believe that they are accountable to their constituents. Now, to the ones who do, who actually go out there and you represent the interests of your constituents, I appreciate y'all. But I saw some city council members who put out public statements against Intro 948A, and it was wrapped in lies. One of them that surprised me, actually, she's a Republican, and I would believe that as a conservative, you would be fighting for the rights of homeowners, and that's Vicky Palladino. So the only thing I can assume is that she didn't read that bill, or her staff lied to her, because that's another thing that I see as well. A lot of these city council members, they're only parroting the points that are being fed to them by their staffers, and they're not actually doing the research on their own. This is all strategy for them. It has nothing to do with the actual work and the actual bill and the language. I'm telling you something, New Yorkers, and it's not even just New Yorkers. You all better start holding your elected officials accountable, because pretty soon, when you allow these people to continue to chip away at your rights here and there, take a little bit more, take a little bit more, you're going to find yourself with no rights left, no choices, no voice, and no representation. That is what we're living with right now in New York City. We're being taxed with no representation. Now, the choice is yours after this. Are you going to just lay down and take it? Or are you going to let your voices be heard? Whether you rent, whether you own, it does not matter. This is an infringement on the rights of your parents, your uncles, your cousins. You, in the future, if you hope to be able to buy a home, don't let these people chip away at your rights under the guise of protection, because you will be worthy of neither that freedom nor that protection. Don't let them do that to y'all. And this has wider implications, not just New York City, because this seems like it's becoming ground zero for the violation of our constitutional rights. And this is going to continue to spread. So, yeah, Craig, anything you got to say before we wrap? I know I kept you on here for a long time, brother.
We're good, bro. We're good. We support you 1000%, Tom.
So, yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined us today. I know some of y'all, you came in, I thought you were going to say something. I'll give you guys like 1 minute to come in if you want to just come in and give commentary, ask a question or whatever before we go. I know maybe I didn't set this up the right way, or I didn't give you guys enough time, but the StreamYard link is on the screen. All you have to do is just either type it in because you see it here, or you can go into my Discord and you can join, and the link is right in there. And I'll give you guys like 30 seconds, whoever is going to come in, if you want to ask a question, anything. If not, next time we'll do it in a way that gives you guys more time. All right. But yeah, because I saw D Blade coming here, and I also saw OSK, and I would have loved to have them come on and, you know, give a few words because they're intelligent brothers, but I don't know. Oh well. But yeah, so look, folks, thank you very much for joining us, and I guess we'll see you all next time. And I'm gonna call, and listen, keep calling out people who are acting against the best interest of the American people. Whether it's New Yorkers, whether it's anybody anywhere, you have to hold people accountable, because what's missing from our politics today is accountability. That's whether you're on the left or the right. This is why I proudly state that I am politically homeless. And that is because I cannot rely on Republicans. I can't trust Democrats. That's why we have a responsibility to think for ourselves. We have a moral responsibility to question the things that we have been taught. We don't have to disagree with them, but we must question it. Otherwise, we become nothing more than mouthpieces for someone else's point of view or their agenda. Thank you for joining me on Tony Talks, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.